It makes complete sense that the toughest division in football has the final two teams remaining in the NFC. The 5-seed Rams, the 1-seed Seahawks will battle for the third time this season to see who's going to be going to Super Bowl 60. And they will get the evening slot at 6:30 over on Fox. The Seahawks right now are favored by 2.5 points with the over-under set at 46.5 points. And our record last week for predictions wasn't all that bad. We've only missed 2 games so far this season, one in the wild card round and one in the divisional round. Those over-unders are a little pesky right now. We'll see if we can do better on that this week. And as far as our underdog picks go, we are well up, not just on the year, but in the playoffs as well. The weather for this game seems like it's going to be just fine. Partly cloudy, decent temperatures out in Seattle, nothing to worry about. This game should be clean from a weather perspective. And the 5-seed Rams finished the season 12-5 with a point differential of plus 172, while the Seahawks finished as the 1 seed, a record of 14-3 with a plus 191 point differential. There's really only a couple of injuries that we're keeping an eye on in this matchup. For the Rams, it's Byron Young mostly. Right now, he's a non-participant in practice, dealing with a knee injury. Emmanuel Forbes has been a limited participant for the Rams. And for the Seahawks, as of this recording, Charles Cross had not practiced as of yet. The hope is that he would get into practice on Friday. And then for Sam Darnold, we continue to monitor that oblique injury, but it seems like he'll end up being just fine. Let's check out our matchup edge, and I'm going with the MVP candidate to kick things off. Matthew Stafford over Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold was fantastic this season for a second straight year, but Matthew Stafford is an MVP candidate, and when you're on the field facing an MVP candidate, you have a little bit of an uphill battle, so I'm giving the nod to Matthew Stafford this week. At the running back position, Kenneth Walker may end up with the best numbers of the running backs, but I'm still going to give the backfield of the Rams the nod here with Kyren Williams and Blake Corum just being very good consistently throughout the season. Kenneth Walker had some up and down moments, and he still has a very high ceiling, and they are going to need to run the ball effectively. And considering the fact that there's no Zach Charbonnet that he's done with an ACL injury, Kenneth Walker is going to have to help carry this offense. But the Rams have the better tandem at the running back position right now. I'm giving them the edge. The wide receiver position is even for me. I understand that the LA Rams have Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, but Jaxon Smith-Njigba was so good this season that I cannot give the edge to the Rams just because they have one better wide receiver right now. They have some great wide receivers in this matchup overall, and I'm expecting to see every single one of those guys get involved. And for these teams to win, they'll have to get involved. We'll see if Cooper Kupp can make a big impact against his former team in the playoffs. That might end up being one of the X factors in this matchup, is whether or not Cooper Kupp can put up enough numbers to help take the pressure off JSN and the run game. The tight end position is even for me as well. On both sides of the ball, we have got guys that can make plays in the passing game, that can block well and do exactly what they're asked of every single play. But neither of them really stand out. We don't really have like a stud in AJ Barner that can take over a game. We don't really have a stud in like any of the 4 tight ends, really. Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, anybody that's utilized for the Rams. All of these guys are on a really even playing field. They've got touchdown potential, they've got red zone potential, but they're not really big volume guys that could end up being the X factor in any matchup. This is an even matchup for me. For the offensive line, I'm going to give it to the Rams. Their offensive line has been so good this season. And even though the Seahawks offensive line has been much better this year than what we've seen over the last several years, it still wasn't quite as good as what the Rams were all season long. There was a little bit more consistency with the Rams offensive line. Towards the end of the year, some of the Seahawks guys on the line were playing very well. But for the Rams, I'm going with the team that showed the most for a majority of the season, giving the edge to them. For as good as the Rams defense is, the Seahawks may be one of the 2 best defenses in all of football. You could argue that maybe they are above the Houston Texans. You could argue that they're right behind the Houston Texans. But there's not a whole lot of teams that you could argue with being over the Seahawks outside of Houston. That's why they're going to get the edge in this matchup. And I believe they have the best defense. And if they can slow the MVP candidate down, the Seahawks have an absolute chance to win this game. And from a special team standpoint, I'm also going to give the edge to the Seahawks. Now, the overall edge at this point ends up going to the Rams, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Rams are just going to win this game. Let's hop on over to Underdog and talk about some pick'ems first. This one may seem risky, but the number is so low, I'm willing to accept that risk. Kenneth Mumfield from the LA Rams. Right now, his line over on Underdog is 0.5 receptions. He's had at least 1 reception in 7 of his last 10 games. And the last time that the Seahawks and the Rams got together, Mumfield had 3 receptions. When you get into this type of a battle with really good defenses and really good offenses, you can expect that Matthew Stafford's going to throw the ball an awful lot. And if he does, this is the type of matchup where you're going to have to spread the ball around. There's going to be a 3rd down at some point in this game where the Seattle Seahawks scheme up a great defensive alignment to take away Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. And Matthew Stafford is going to have to find somebody, and Mumfield could end up being that guy. All it takes is 1 play and 1 reception for him to hit higher than 0.5 receptions. And I mentioned Cooper Kupp a few minutes ago and how he could end up being one of the difference makers for the Seattle Seahawks in this matchup. And right now over on Underdog, I can go higher than 19.5 receiving yards. Over his last 10 games, he's hit it 90% of the time. Over his last 20 games, he's hit it 90% of the time. And here in 2025, he hit that number 88% of the time. The last couple of times he played the Rams, he got 23 and 39 receiving yards. I think this is the type of matchup where they're going to have somebody as a secondary option to JSN to help move the ball down the field. And Cooper Kupp could get away with a couple of plays where he's able to make up the yardage right away. When the playoffs started, I picked the Seattle Seahawks to make a run to the Super Bowl, and nothing is changing in this matchup. I am going to go with Seattle taking down the LA Rams at home, and I'm going to go over 46.5 points. I know that these 2 defenses are very, very solid, but you could also find yourself in a situation where these teams are throwing the ball enough in this matchup that we're going to be able to put together 46.5 points. And in some of these matchups where I feel like the defense is going to end up being the key factor, they end up going over anyway. So I'm going to switch up what I'm doing a little bit, and I'm also going to chase the over in this matchup with the Seahawks winning. And I do believe that they win by more than 2.5 points. I don't think this is going to come down to any type of a last-second field goal. I think Seattle is going to pull away in the 4th quarter and win by a touchdown. Headliner Nation, hopefully you're enjoying all of the playoff videos. We've only got one more after this, and that's for Super Bowl 60. But make sure you're staying around and checking out all of the off-season content. Hit the like button, subscribe, become a part of the nation by becoming a member today, hype the video, whatever it may be. I would just appreciate it if you could take 5 seconds out of your time to interact with this video. Headliner Nation, stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.